শুভেচ্ছা এবং স্বাগতম শ্রোতা দর্শকদের। এই মুহূর্তে আমরা আছি ওয়াশিংটন ডিসিতে যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের পররাষ্ট্র দপ্তরে। আজকে সাক্ষাৎকারে আমাদের বিশেষ অতিথি হচ্ছেন বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের রাষ্ট্রদূত মান্যবর পিটার হ্যাস। আমরা স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি তাঁকে। Your Excellency, Ambassador Peter Haas, welcome to this program of Voice of America Bangla Service.
Thank you very much.
I think it's a very historic moment that you are in while Bangladesh and US are celebrating the 50th anniversary of its diplomatic relationship. So how do you feel to be the ambassador during this historic moment in the relationship of two countries, and how are you finding your stay in Bangladesh?
So first of all, thank you for having me. Second of all, I couldn't be a luckier person than to be the United States ambassador to Bangladesh right now as we celebrate 50 years of diplomatic relations and 50 years of friendship. And what's amazing about it is both looking back over the past 51 years and seeing the remarkable progress of Bangladesh from emerging from independence with no institutions, with nothing but the idea of independence, and watching as the country has made just tremendous strides in terms of establishing itself as a country, in terms of economic growth with one of the fastest growing economies in Asia, in terms of women's economic empowerment, the reduction of poverty, and what I find just phenomenal is a 96% immunization rate, which is one of the highest in the world. And so just looking at all of those successes and then framing it as well in the next 50 years, because Bangladesh is about to graduate to middle income status country, and it faces new and different challenges than it did in the first 50 years. And I think the great thing is that those challenges on further strides towards democracy, further economic liberalization, are really nothing in comparison to what Bangladesh has already overcome. And so I can't think of a more exciting time to be there and to partner with Bangladesh as it makes that next 50-year journey.
Coming back to the question of challenges that you mentioned, despite the long and friendly relationship between the US and Bangladesh, there have been some issues in recent times. Particularly, one of those is the sanction imposed on RAB officials. What are your views on this?
So first of all, I would say that I think it's clear that President Biden has stated that democracy, human rights are at the center of US foreign policy. And so this is something that we've talked about for a long time. This is an issue, the extrajudicial killings, those issues with the RAB have been documented for years in the Human Rights Report. We stopped providing training to the RAB in 2018 because of concerns. And so yes, these sanctions did have an impact. They definitely are noticed. I think many people are over-exaggerating their impact because the relationship we have is so broad and we deal with so many issues that this is one issue, but that we continue to work very closely on the security front. We continue to provide law enforcement training, and this is just an area that we would like to see Bangladesh have accountability for past human rights violations and to reform the RAB so that in the future it doesn't commit the same.
Yes, as you said, Bangladesh and the US also work closely in many aspects. What do you think there are three main areas of partnership between these two countries, and also what aspects can you think of where the two countries can increase cooperation in future?
So I think if you take the snapshot of the past 3 months, it's really amazing because in this 3-month time frame, We had a partnership dialogue where the Undersecretary of State, Victoria Nuland, traveled to Bangladesh for conversations. We had a security dialogue here in Washington. We had a military partnership dialogue in Honolulu. And most recently, we've had the high-level economic consultation here in Washington, where Salman F. Rahman traveled here. And so you already see that we are cooperating deeply and aggressively on all four of those fronts. I think our challenge now is to go beyond the diplomatic niceties of having some meetings now and again and actually developing the action plan of exactly which side needs to do what to accomplish which goal. And that's what I'm hoping to do over the next month or two, is develop that list in partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Going on to a different issue, there have been concerns about the treatment of the Rohingya community taking refuge in Bangladesh. What is Bangladesh doing too in response of these concerns?
So it's important to start with a very simple fact that Bangladesh welcomed these people, the Rohingya, into Bangladesh at a time when no other country would, and at a time that genocide was being committed against them in Burma. And so it's always important to start with that as a framing. I don't think Bangladesh ever expected, nor did the world community expect, that they would still be there 5 years from now. Nor did people, or 5 years from then, nor did people expect the coup in Burma and the worsening situation. I think it's really important to frame it in that regard. But then you do have to go to the next stage, that given that they are there and that they have been there for a long time, it's making sure we're giving the appropriate focus to coming up with what an international solution would be so that they can go back safely and with dignity to their homeland, which they want to do. But then second is, how do you provide meaning? How do you provide livelihoods? How do you educate these people when they're stuck away from their home? And I think that's where we in Bangladesh and the rest of the international community need to keep working together on how to improve their day-to-day life so that when they do return one day, that they're ready to and that they have the skills to survive and to thrive back in Burma.
Now, referring to this issue, the US has recently declared the treatment of the Rohingya minority by the Myanmar military to be genocide. Do you think that the US and Bangladesh can work together in the repatriation of Rohingya people to their homes? If so, how do you propose it to be achieved?
So it's not just a question of the United States and Bangladesh working on this. This is an issue for the entire international community. There are the bilateral relations that Bangladesh has with Burma, many of which happen quietly, urging the conditions for their return. There is the role of the United States and the rest of the United Nations in pressing Burma and holding them accountable for what they've done and pressing them to have a situation where people can return. It's also an issue for ASEAN as the regional body to, again, put pressure on Burma to do the right thing. Obviously, the pressure comes along with things like making the determination on genocide. It comes along with sanctions against some of the leaders. But this is really something for the entire world community to be pressing Burma to fix the problem that it created.
Right. Now, coming back to Bangladesh again, events in recent times have underscored the importance of the role a free media plays. What are your views about the importance of media organizations like Voice of America?
So, free media is essential in a functioning democracy. It has come under pressure in Bangladesh through the Digital Security Act. Some of the proposed regulations would make it even more dangerous and difficult to be a journalist. But you simply can't have a free and open society without a media that is allowed to ask the questions that it wants, to write the views that it wants, to be able to criticize the government and to be able to do so, and I'm going to say with impunity, but that's not really the essence of what I want to say, but just the absolute right to criticize the government when they see something wrong. And I think that's all the more valuable, all the more important in the run-up to elections, because you can't have a free and fair election without an active media. And you know from your time here in the United States that a lot of politicians, a lot of people don't like the media, and that's because the media make them sweat.
Now, having discussed all these very serious matters, let's move on to a lighter note now. Though it has been a short time since your arrival in Bangladesh, still, have you visited some places around the country or city, or what places are your mind? What is your favorite food, and that sort of thing?
Bangladesh is a wonderful, wonderful place, and the people could not have been more welcoming. I've been a little disappointed that I've not been able to travel as much as I've wanted to so far. I've only been to Cox's Bazar, but I have a whole travel agenda for the next couple of months, starting off in Rajshahi in July, maybe for the mangoes. Maybe there are other reasons, but certainly the mangoes are a big reason.
So you love mangoes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And then the Sundarbans, I'm planning to go in August, where we're starting to work on an ecotourism project. I'll be in Cox's Bazar in September, and the Chittagong Hill Tracks in November. And so I'm starting to think about the places, and I'm of course going to try the mishti doi and the lamb biryani in each and every one, so I can personally decide who makes the best in Bangladesh.
Oh, right. And probably you like fuchka as well, I heard.
Fuchka, yes.
Right.
Only by the dozen.
Wow. Now, what would you like to say to our audience today, to our viewers today? If you have any message, if you have any thoughts, you may share.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I would say that the United States is willing to move as fast as Bangladesh is in deepening the relations between our two great nations. And I say that not only in terms of the government ties, which are important, but let's be honest, government to government is just a tiny, tiny sliver of what our relations look like. Far more important is the business ties, the education ties, the family ties. And so I was really excited that this year we had the U.S.-Bangladesh Business Council come to Bangladesh looking for opportunities. I'm excited that Bangladesh is the fastest growing source of foreign students coming to the United States to study. And of course, I love it when I see the success stories of Bangladeshi Americans, both in the United States and those who have returned to Bangladesh to share their expertise. And so, like I said, we're willing to go as fast as Bangladesh is in deepening this relationship.
I understand people of Bangladesh also appreciate U.S. Embassy's celebration of Bangla New Year, yes, or that sort of thing, which was quite interesting, actually.
Yes, no, my wife and I had a blast doing that, where we tried all the traditional Bengali foods.
Right.
I even got myself a Punjabi pajama,
wow,
in red, of course, for the Bangla New Year, and that was wonderful.
Have you learned a little bit of Bangla, anything?
Amar naam Peter Haas, ami Rashtraduta American.
Oh, that's
not much
great.
More.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Your Excellency Ambassador Peter Haas, for joining us. Thank you on behalf of Voice of America.
Thank you, Anas.
আমরা এতক্ষণ কথা বলছিলাম বাংলাদেশে নিযুক্ত যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের মাননীয় রাষ্ট্রদূত পিটার হ্যাসের কাছে। তার সঙ্গে এই কথা হচ্ছিল আমাদের। আপনারা সবাই ভালো থাকুন এবং সুস্থ থাকুন। ধন্যবাদ।